Today we are gathered here to share our stories, because our stories are the stories of survival. As women, survival has been a key to humanity. And we have to recognize that we hold the key, and it's time to exercise that power by sharing our stories, uplifting each other, and walking together toward the sun. I was asked to share a personal story, so I get to go first. And I'm going to share with you something that a lot of you have heard me speak all over Richmond before. I've never shared this story before. And I hope I can make it through. But it's a story that kind of signifies from whence came my strength. I knew that this is a letter that I wrote to my mother. This is about 2 years after she died. I was not in a good place. I knew that if I started to write this, it would come pouring out. Maybe that's why I hadn't started. Selfishly, I wanted to hold on to her, so I didn't let go. I clamped her into my heart and hugged and maintained my sorrow. She'd be pissed. Today, I knew I had to let her go. I accepted the responsibility of being her only girl. She called me her favorite daughter. Her chosen confidant, her special person. I was loved. I was nurtured. I was always made to believe that I was special. I am. You are. I was loved. I was not only chosen by God, I was chosen by her. She left too soon. She did all the right things for herself, yet it was her time to go. The responsibility she gave me to speak for her when she was not able to speak was one that I felt proud to be handed. I knew I could make rational decisions and follow her wishes should the time ever come. She knew I would. I was her daughter. So I rallied when I got the call. I rallied with my heart clamoring to leave my chest. I jumped on a plane and got to New York. Mother was in the emergency room and had suffered a stroke. I had just seen her a few weeks before as she breezed in from church in her black and white plaid suit, honey, that she made with her spectator shoes, full of energy, joy, and welcome. Her baby sister was visiting her, and I was in New York for CBS's 75th anniversary celebration. I wanted to see them both, so I jumped in a cab and I was at home with Maddie when Mom breezed in the door. She was radiant with her two best girls there with her. I will hold on to that smile for the rest of my life. Right now I have to write her down so I can get a hold of my smile again, and it's still hard. Being a strong black woman is something. Yes, you can, but you don't always want to. It hurts to care so deeply for someone and then lose them under any circumstances. Now, Mom, I love you, and I miss you, and I need you. I know you're there, but you're not. I had the most perfect mother-daughter relationship, the envy of all I shared it with. We were a pair from the very beginning. She was my maternal rock and example, my ally, my sister sharer, my teacher, my expector, my mentor, my advisor, my sweet soul companion, my fighter, my soul expander, my mother. I want so badly to hold on to this feeling of loss because something in me knows that when the grief is gone, she will finally be left to go. I must get this out so we can both go on. She epitomized joy. She lived every day of her life. She was responsible to herself, to her family, and to her community. She chose and created her community. She held her own in any situation. Her anger was not manifested in words as much as in determined purpose. She lived a very purposeful life. Her commitments were honored, her patience abundance. When she lost patience, she was easily led back to her center. She was opinionated, but for the good of her family and the community. She was steadfast in her spiritual commitments and in the right of truth. She was curious, learned, smart, particular, handy, resourceful, bright, conversant, well-read, classy, beautiful, and strong. I love my mother. When she fell, it was like the falling of one of her beloved trees. She loved trees and birds, and we have spent many years sharing photos of trees. She loved the majesty of one of God's greatest creations, but she loved the songs of the birds as much. She had the fortitude that she said her mother, Eva, possessed. My grandmother was a strong force in our family's life, even now, even though she's been gone for over 60 years. What I remember about her is through the eyes of a little girl visiting South Carolina when she was dying. I remember standing beside her among others that were holding her up, helping her to walk somewhere. She was a mighty oak tree to this 3-year-old. She was so tall to me. She was an average-sized person, as her pictures tell, but always remains a giant in my mind. The stories that have passed down about her incredible fortitude made me see what my mother was made of. The more my mother and aunt told me about my grandmother, the more I saw the attributes that my mother and aunt carry inside of them. This process is getting refreshing. It's making me concentrate on all of the building blocks that made my mother such an incredible person. I have to honor what she has left for me by becoming all that I can be. I must move along with my grief, release her to her path, and pick up the sword and shield that she honed with me. And I was finally able to let her go. And I was also blessed at that same time, which was a very trying time in my life, but I realized how much my husband loved me while I was going through this. He wrote me a poem, and it's called "You Are Blessed." I watched you softly caress your mother's face. There she lay, humbled by life, her soul and spirit hidden away in some distant space. Fighting through your sorrow, whispering prayers through a cloud of tears. Over time, I've watched the two of you share a joy that seemed to grow through the years. If only I had the power to take you in my arms and erase your pain. If only I could reach through that eternal veil and find her spirit to reclaim. There is a great power in all this tender love that is being exchanged. You are blessed with a destiny that your fair heart has arranged. That's the story of my strength. I get it from God and from an indomitable woman, my mother.